Have you ever sat alone in your kitchen, staring into a quiet cup of tea, wondering when someone might call or visit next? Maybe it used to be bustling, kids laughing, someone asking where the sugar is. And now? Silence. Not because you've done anything wrong, but because life moved on. The kids grew up, they got busy, and suddenly your days are filled with too much time and not enough company. If you've felt that deep ache of loneliness, not the kind that comes and goes, but the kind that lingers quietly in the background, you're not alone. A lot of people over 60 feel exactly the same way. We don't talk about it often, but it's there. The world keeps spinning, and sometimes it feels like it's spinning a little too far away from us. But here's the good news. Even if family is distant, even if your phone stays quiet for longer than you'd like, connection is still possible. Real, meaningful connection. Today we're going to talk heart to heart about how to rebuild those human bonds, not by waiting for others to come to you, but by stepping into something new. And I promise you, it's not about joining trendy apps or forcing yourself into loud, uncomfortable social settings. These are gentle, surprising ways that have helped so many people just like you feel seen, valued, and joyful again. Let's start with something that might surprise you: volunteering. Now, you might be thinking, but I don't have the energy for all that, or I don't even know where to begin. But volunteering doesn't have to mean spending 8 hours lifting boxes or organizing charity events. It can be as simple as reading to children at your local library once a week, or helping fold clothes at a community shelter. Some folks even knit blankets for hospitals or write encouraging letters to patients. There are endless small ways to make a big difference. What makes volunteering so powerful isn't just that you're helping others, although that's a beautiful thing, it's that you start to feel needed again. That feeling of, someone is counting on me. It's amazing what that can do to your heart. It gives your day a purpose and your soul a reason to shine. One woman I spoke with, Helen, said volunteering at the animal shelter gave her more than she ever gave the animals. She said, "I walk in there and I'm not the lady who lives alone anymore. I'm Auntie Helen, the one who brings the good treats." That leads us into another powerful way to rebuild connection: finding or starting a hobby group. It doesn't matter whether it's gardening, painting, birdwatching, or even model trains. When you bring people together around something they all love, something magical happens. The pressure to make small talk disappears because the activity itself brings the conversation. One minute you're comparing tomato plants, and the next you're laughing about childhood memories with someone you just met. You might think, there's nothing like that near me. But you'd be surprised. Check your local community center or library. Many towns have art classes, book clubs, or walking groups that welcome all ages, but especially seniors. And if nothing exists yet, don't wait for someone else to do it. Put up a flyer. Call a neighbor. Even 2 or 3 people is enough to start something meaningful. One man I met, Ron, 72, started a puzzle club. That's right. Puzzles. He printed a few invites and left them at the grocery store bulletin board. The first week, no one showed up. The second week, one woman came. Now, they've got 8 regulars and a rotation of fresh coffee and homemade banana bread. They sit in a cozy room at the community center, talk about everything from childhood memories to current aches and pains, and no one feels invisible. And that's the thing, we don't always need family to feel connected. Sometimes, it's about creating your own chosen family. People who don't share your blood, but share your laughter, your stories, your time. That kind of connection can be just as powerful, sometimes even more so, because it's built entirely on choice. Now I know some of you might be saying, "But I've tried. I really have. And it's just too hard. People are busy. They already have their circles." And you're right, it can be hard. Especially when you've spent decades taking care of others and suddenly you find yourself unsure of how to take care of your own emotional need. But here's a truth worth repeating: it's never too late to start over. Never. One small step leads to another. A short visit to a hobby group becomes a friendship. A few hours volunteering becomes something you look forward to all week. And you don't need to pretend to be younger, faster, or more outgoing than you are. Come as you are. That's more than enough. You see, loneliness often whispers, "No one needs you anymore." But that's a lie. The world needs your stories, your wisdom, your presence. It needs your laughter, even if it's rusty from disuse. It needs your eyes that have seen so much and still have so much left to see. Sometimes, connection begins when you stop waiting to be invited and start gently inviting yourself into the world again. Not with force, not with pressure, just with openness. And maybe the first few times you'll feel a little awkward. That's okay. Everyone does. The important thing is to show up. The moment you show up for someone else, a child needing a smile, a dog needing a walk, a neighbor needing a friend, you start showing up for yourself too. There's a quiet kind of joy in that. A kind of joy that doesn't demand attention or applause. It just fills the air, soft and steady, like the sun warming your back on a chilly morning. Sometimes the best way to find connection is not by looking outward, but by listening inward. After 60, we often carry so many memories, joys, and regrets that it's easy to feel overwhelmed by what we've lost instead of what we still have. But here's something beautiful to consider. Self-reflection isn't loneliness, it's an invitation. It's your own soul asking for attention, for healing, for understanding. And when you begin to answer that call, something shifts inside you. You start feeling less like a forgotten passenger and more like the driver of your own journey again. Take a quiet walk in the park, not to rush or count your steps, but just to be present. Notice the trees, the birds, the way the sunlight filters through the leaves. That's not just nature. That's life speaking to you. That's your spirit remembering how to feel alive. You might even try journaling. I know it might sound like something teenagers do, but writing down your thoughts, your memories, your questions, even your worries, has a way of clearing space in your heart. You begin to see patterns. You start to understand where your hurt lives, and where your hope still burns. A man named James told me he started writing one paragraph a day about what made him smile. At first, he struggled. "Nothing really," he told me. "I just sit at home." But slowly, he started to notice things. The taste of his morning coffee, the laugh of a child outside his window, the satisfaction of organizing his bookshelf. And in those little joys, he rediscovered a sense of connection with himself. Because before we can connect deeply with others, we have to reconnect with who we are. And you, my friend, are not just a person who's aging, you're a person who's becoming. Still learning, still growing, still capable of deep love and friendship. Once that connection with yourself starts to feel more solid, it becomes easier to reach out again. You begin to see people not as reminders of what you've lost, but as companions for what's still ahead. And one place that has quietly become a powerful bridge for that kind of connection? Local meetups or workshop. These aren't your old-fashioned mixers or noisy bingo nights. Though hey, if that's your style, go for it. What I mean are the kinds of small gatherings designed around shared learning. Things like storytelling circles, beginner cooking classes, digital literacy workshops, or even community walking tours. These spaces offer something really special, the chance to meet people while doing something new together. There's a comfort in learning side by side. No one's the expert, no one's the boss. You're all just beginners again, figuring it out as you go. One woman I know, Maria, signed up for a watercolor painting class even though she hadn't painted since grade school. "I wasn't good," she laughed, "but neither were the others." And that was the beauty of it. They connected through laughter, through splashes of color and spilled water, and shared curiosity. You don't need to be a natural artist or a tech genius or a perfect chef. You just need to show up and try. People respect that. They're drawn to it. And very often, those shared experiences lead to genuine friendships, not out of obligation, but out of mutual respect and discovery. There's something freeing about being in a room with strangers who aren't family. There are no old stories, no family roles to fall back into. You get to be just you. Not the mom, the dad, the grandma, the caregiver. Just a curious, vibrant soul exploring something new. And sometimes that's exactly the kind of space we need to remember who we really are beneath all the layers of duty and years. Of course, putting yourself out there, whether it's a workshop, a hobby group, or even a simple conversation in line at the pharmacy, takes courage. I won't sugarcoat it. It's not always easy. But neither is loneliness. And at least with connection, there's hope. You might be wondering, what if I'm too shy? What if no one talks to me? And I get it. That fear is real. But here's a little trick that's helped many people take that first step. Ask one genuine question. It can be as simple as, have you been here before? Or, what do you like most about this class? When you show interest in others, you invite them to open up. And most people are just waiting for someone to give them permission to speak, to share, to be seen. You don't have to be the life of the party. You just have to be the spark. And even if the first attempt doesn't lead to an instant connection, don't give up. Not every seed blooms right away. But with time, with consistency, and a little patience, something will grow. Because human beings are meant for connection. Even if our family moves away, even if friends drift apart, our hearts still carry the desire to be known, to be valued, to belong. And connection doesn't have to look like it used to. It can be small. It can be quiet. It can be something as simple as sharing a moment with someone who remembers your name, asks about your week, or just sits with you in comfortable silence. There is still so much left for you. Not behind you. Ahead of you. Sometimes the most unexpected doors open when you stop waiting to be invited in and start knocking for yourself. That's what happened to George, a retired mail carrier who had spent the first 2 years of retirement watching TV and wondering why he felt so empty. He had plenty of free time, but no real sense of purpose. His children lived far away, and most of his friends had either moved or passed on. Then one morning, while dropping off canned goods at a local shelter, a staff member asked if he'd ever considered volunteering. At first, George shrugged it off. "I'm too old," he said. "What help could I be?" But something about that place stayed with him. So the next week, he went back, not to drop things off, but to offer his time. They had him sorting donations at first. Nothing fancy. Just organizing shelves and greeting people who came through the door. But what happened over the next few months changed his entire emotional landscape. He found himself waking up with purpose again. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. He started recognizing familiar faces. Some even remembered his name. That simple feeling, being known, being needed, brought back a part of him that had gone quiet for too long. Volunteering isn't just about helping others. It's about reconnecting with a deeper part of yourself, the part that remembers how good it feels to give, to show up, to be part of something bigger than your own worries. And the best part? It doesn't have to be a huge commitment. It could be one afternoon a week at the community garden, reading books to children at the library, offering a helping hand at a food bank, or even calling other seniors as part of a wellness check program. In fact, many organizations are now offering virtual volunteering, which means you can connect with others, help out, and make a difference, all from the comfort of your own home. You don't have to be mobile. You don't have to be tech-savvy. You just need a little willingness to be part of something again. Because the truth is, purpose is a powerful antidote to loneliness. When you feel like you matter, when someone else is counting on you, it lifts your spirit in ways that even family can't always do. And if you're thinking, but what if I don't have the energy for all that? That's okay too. Some days are harder than others. But connection doesn't always require big effort. Sometimes it's about small, intentional choices in your day-to-day life. Like simply being open to the people around you. Let's say you go to the same cafe every morning. Or you walk your dog in the same park. Or shop at the same grocery store. Instead of walking in with your head down, what if you started making eye contact, offering a smile, or exchanging a friendly hello with someone familiar? It may seem insignificant at first, but those tiny moments, those micro-interactions, add up. One woman I met, Diane, shared something beautiful with me. Every morning, she walked to the corner bakery. She always saw the same man sitting by the window. They never spoke, just nodded politely. Then one day, she complimented his scarf. That was it. Just a simple comment. And that's how their conversation began. 3 years later, they still meet every Wednesday for tea. Loneliness doesn't always disappear in one dramatic gesture. Often, it fades quietly, step by step, as we gently open ourselves to the world again. And one of the most loving, courageous things you can do after 60 is to let go of the idea that connection only comes from family. Yes, children and grandchildren matter deeply, but they don't define your worth. They're not your only source of joy. Your story is still unfolding, and the next chapter might just include people you haven't even met yet. The more you invest in yourself, your passions, your well-being, your ability to grow, the more magnetic you become to others. People are drawn to that kind of quiet confidence, that calm energy of someone who's been through life and still chooses to open up. So maybe it starts with a book club, or a walking group, or signing up to teach a basic skill you've mastered over the years, like woodworking, knitting, or gardening. Maybe you create a small tradition for yourself, like writing letters to people in care homes or recording your life stories to leave behind as a legacy. There's something deeply healing about turning your experience into a gift. You don't need 100 friends. You don't need everyone's approval. You just need 1 or 2 meaningful connections that remind you you're not alone, and that you never truly were. Because even on your quietest days, when the phone doesn't ring and the house feels still, you carry with you decades of wisdom, kindness, and strength. And those are exactly the qualities the world needs more of right now. So take a breath. Look around. Say yes to one small thing. Not for your children, not for your past, but for you. You're not too old. It's not too late. And the next meaningful connection may be closer than you think. There's a quiet strength in choosing to keep your heart open, even after life has given you reasons to close it. And if you're still watching this, that means something inside you is already leaning toward change, toward possibility. Let's talk about something most people don't expect to hear in a video like this. Sometimes the most powerful connection isn't with others at all. It's with yourself. Yes, friendships matter. Companionship can brighten even the darkest days. But when you can sit with yourself in silence and still feel whole, that's when the real magic starts. Many people reach their 60s and 70s only to realize they've spent their whole lives tending to others, raising kids, working hard, keeping the household running, caring for a spouse, perhaps even losing one. And suddenly they're left asking, "Who am I now?" That question can feel scary. But it's also an incredible invitation. Because now is the time to rediscover the things that make you feel alive. Maybe it's painting. Not for money or praise, just for the joy of it. Or planting a small herb garden on your windowsill. Or journaling your thoughts each morning with a cup of tea. Some people find joy in poetry. Others in music. For you, it might be walking in nature, listening to birdsong, or even dancing around the kitchen when no one's watching. This is your season to explore, to stretch, to remember what it feels like to be curious. And the beautiful part? When you begin nurturing that inner world, the outer world starts responding. You smile more, even if just a little. You carry yourself with a quiet ease. You become more open to conversation, to opportunity, to joy. That energy ripples outward. People feel it. They're drawn to it. One woman I knew, Esther, spent years grieving after her husband passed away. Her children had their own families and visited less and less. She felt invisible. One day, she picked up a watercolor kit that had been sitting untouched in her closet for years. At first, she painted simple flowers. then small scenes from her childhood. Eventually, she started sharing them online in a small blog, mostly for herself. That blog ended up connecting her to other artists, both young and old. Some commented, others reached out. One even invited her to a local art meetup. By doing something for herself, Esther ended up building a whole new circle of friendship. All because she listened to that quiet voice inside that said, "Let's try." And maybe that's where you are today. Maybe you're sitting with a quiet ache you don't talk about much. Maybe you scroll through your phone and wonder why everyone else seems so connected, while you feel like you're drifting. But you're not drifting. You're pausing. And from that pause, you get to choose what happens next. You get to write this chapter on your terms. That might mean showing up at the local community center, even if it feels awkward at first. It might mean calling that neighbor you've only waved to in passing and saying, "Want to grab a coffee sometime?" It might mean volunteering, or joining a walking group, or finally signing up for that pottery class you've secretly been curious about. And yes, it might mean doing a bit of emotional spring cleaning, letting go of the idea that you need to wait for family to fill every emotional need. They love you. That love is real. But they're living their lives just like you once did at their age. That doesn't mean you've been forgotten. It just means you now have the space to become the center of your own story again. So let's take a breath together. You are still here. You are still needed. You are still capable of connection, of joy, of deep and meaningful companionship, whether with others or with yourself. If you've ever felt like your best days are behind you, I want to gently challenge that thought. Because some of your most peaceful, most creative, and most fulfilling days could be ahead. All it takes is a little courage, one small step. And if no one's told you this lately, I'm proud of you. Just for watching this, for being curious, for not giving up on yourself. That takes strength. Now, if something from this video spoke to you, if it made you feel even a little bit more seen, I'd love to hear from you. Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us what's helped you feel more connected. You never know who might be encouraged by your story. And if you're new here, consider subscribing. We make videos like this every week, gentle conversations that uplift, inspire, and remind you that this stage of life can be one of the most meaningful yet. You're not alone. Not really. You've still got time, purpose, and a whole lot of heart left to give. Here's to living your best life, right here, right now, and at any age. You deserve nothing less.